Anyway, let me begin by saying that I'm very honored to be here today with our esteemed panel. I'm looking to learn and hear a lot of interesting things and hopefully apply them to our situation in Arizona. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity today to share with all of you at least a little bit of the insight on what's going on in the state of Arizona and share with you a little bit of the suffering that we have had to deal with because of the wildfires in the state of Arizona. And I know most of you know just how horrible wildfires can be. I became governor, 2.5 years ago, and it was like baptism by fire. And my worst nightmare was the fact that I had saw the Rodeo Chakesky fire, the largest fire Arizona had ever had in its history, and I just thought, I'm not going to be able to stand it if that happens to me. Well, here we are. We now have the largest fire in our history of the state of Arizona, and you know that the devastation is immense, and certainly the destruction is vast, and the losses are just always so great. So let me put my wildfires in some kind of perspective for all of you. I know you all have your statistics, but I do want to share them with you. The average number of fires per year in Arizona is 3,228 wildfires, averaging more than 180,000 acres a year. That's a lot of fires going on. And for all of last year, Arizona had 1,582 wildfires, which burned 85,015 acres. However, so far this year, Arizona has had a total of 765 fires that have burned more than 923,000 acres, or 1,442 square miles. Unfortunately, Arizona has seen approximately about 1 million acres of our land burned in this last few months. So that all coming together means that about 1% of the total land mass in Arizona has already burned in this fire season alone, and the season is not even over yet. I have been given the opportunity, and I have been up and have visited a lot of the fires, and I've seen firsthand certainly the destruction and the devastation. And as with many tragedies, I know many here today, you've lived through those kinds of things, but it really, the tough times, I believe, always brings out the very best in the people. And I was really, truly impressed by the way Arizonans came together to help their neighbors. It was just so inspiring. I went up there to kind of be a little cheerleader, and they were cheerleading me. But we had over 40,000 firefighters that banded together to protect lives and homes and businesses in Arizona's natural habitat. On a given day during the height of the emergency, there have been between 6,000 and 10,000 wildland firefighters in Arizona. And during that time, more than 1,000 engines have been deployed. Obviously, the fires that have ravaged Arizona will have both short-term and long-term impacts on our state. Immediately and in the short term, we need to help people and businesses that have been dislocated. Most of the fires are now reaching containment, but they do not and will not be put out completely until our monsoon season arrives. And when those rains do arrive, they will bring flooding, and we will need to prepare for that as well. Last year, after the Schultz fire near Flagstaff, we faced severe flooding. The lands that burned left no vegetation to hold the monsoon rains. The Wallow, the Horseshoe, Tube, and the Monument fires are in mountainous areas, and the potential flooding there will impact home, businesses, and habitat. And we have said, and we will use it to the best of our ability, everything that we learned from the Schultz fire. The burn area emergency response team's primary responsibility, of course, is public safety, and they have been successful. We have had very few injuries and no deaths during all of the fires this year. We also know that the burnt trees that pose a danger to the roadway will be salvaged. What we need is a process that will allow all of the other damaged trees that can and should be salvaged to be salvaged before they lose their value in a year or two. The Forest Restoration Initiative, the 4FRI, has allowed the wood products industry to begin to redevelop. Our concern is that given the destruction to their supply, we would lose this critical piece to our restoration puzzle. We need to bring our best and our brightest to the table to find solution to revegetation to help fight the post-burning flooding. For example, because seeding and mulching have limited successes on their own, maybe we need to combine them. These fires have destroyed some of the most beautiful parts of our state, and it will take years for our forests to recover. But we do know what's needed. We need the assistance of the federal government. We need to access to salvage what timber we can and plant new forests. We need to streamline and a consistent process across forests and other federal lands to allow states to recover. We need to better manage our forests to prevent this from happening again, or at least to minimize the devastation. Forest restoration or thinning is a key to preventing these types of disasters. A perfect example is Alpine, Arizona. The community was spared because it had thinned the forest around it. And when the flames roared up, right up to that area, it had been thinned, and so immediately as it roared up, it immediately was knocked to the ground and contained by those firefighters, our heroes. And it's far more cost effective to do these kinds of restoration projects rather than paying to fight and treat the aftermath. And finally, we need large-scale forest restoration. The Nature Conservancy estimates that 80 million acres of forest across the West are overgrown. The stewardship contract and the Apache Breeze and the Forest Restoration Initiative are great examples of what can work. Everybody was at the table and together came up with a solution, a community-based game plan. The restoration contract to be awarded in the 4FRI first phase will be the largest ever awarded by the Forest Service and will cover approximately 30,000 acres of restoration per year. Unfortunately, Arizona has seen approximately, as I mentioned earlier, approximately 1 million acres burned so far this fire season. And you can do the math. We are way behind the curve, and we are quickly losing opportunities to be proactive. So we know what needs to be done, quite simply. We need to do it, and we need to do it now. And today, I call upon the Western governors to join me in my call for more landscape scale restoration. And I know, given the constraints of the budgets we all face, we need to engage the private sector to a greater degree. We need them to make the investment facilities that can process more timber. In closing, just let me say, I know this investment is not cheap, but in order to encourage it, we need to support longer-term contracts or certainty that allows them to recoup their investment and employ the people in these devastated areas. So thank you all today for allowing me to share these thoughts with you, and I appreciate the opportunity. And I know that sitting on this panel are some very smart, well-informed people, and I know that my colleagues and my governors here have experienced the same thing that Arizona's going through, and I appreciate all their support and help, and I look forward to hearing their helpful suggestions and solutions. So thank you.